You're feeling anxious, stressed out, overwhelmed, and just full of worry. You feel like an old computer that has too many tabs open and then just crashes. We want to avoid the crash, so I'm glad you clicked on this video where I share helpful strategies that bring you from overwhelmed, stressed out, and chaos to calm. I've had my fair share of really bad panic attacks and anxiety, and I will be sharing a little bit of that later in the video. Came across a podcast episode with Andrew Huberman. He's known for his morning routines and have a very science-based approach to just better health and life, where he talks about one thing that helps you regulate your body and your mind by literally just breathing. We mostly don't breathe into our bellies anymore. We're all like here in our chest, and it's just like a rapid inhale and exhale, and that creates more stress. What I thought for the longest time was the deeper your inhale, the more relaxed you are. He says the opposite. The more you inhale, the mind and heart communicate that they have to stay alert. It creates more space, and therefore the heart is pumping more. If you want to feel more relaxed, you have to shorten your inhale a little bit and elongate the exhale. Another incredible breathing technique is the physiological sigh. How that works is you take 2 consecutive inhales through the nose. That means no breathing in between. So you're breathing in through the nose and then another one, and you exhale through the mouth until there's no air left in your lungs. For the physiological sigh to work, it would be best to do it 5 minutes, maybe daily. If that's too much, just do it 1 to 3 times back to back, and you will feel a lot calmer. It is so easy to believe every single thought we're having. If we're going through anxious things, the worst case scenario is often the one that's going to be stuck in our head, and it's so easy to believe that this is going to happen. Question your thoughts a lot. What I like to do sometimes is just taking a piece of paper and writing my thoughts down if I can't get out of the thought spirals. And then I sometimes really laugh at myself because some of the thoughts are really so ridiculous. A thing I wish somebody told me in the beginning of that is, don't believe everything you think. I came across this recently and I love it so much that I want to end my videos with that sentence. That we're so used to being the best and higher version of ourselves, but being your favorite self leaves room for grace and growth. Just to say, I'm going to be the version of myself that I like right now in this moment. Set a worry timer. Might sound silly. Pick a specific time of the day where you do nothing else besides worrying. So when I'm out with friends, I remind myself, stay present. You're here with your friends, you're doing something else. You have time to worry later on. You don't have to ruin the present moment by thinking about a future scenario right now. When you're done worrying, take imperfect action. Problem in overthinking often lies in, overthinking everything and not taking action. We end up in analysis paralysis. And what is something for your current anxiety that you could take right now, even if it seems small and insignificant? Small imperfect action is better than none at all. Here's how I decided to take imperfect action. A little background story. Back in 2017, I experienced my first and probably the worst panic attack I've ever had. And at this point, I wasn't even aware I had panic attacks. There was a lot of big transitions in my life. I decided I wanted to leave everything behind and move to the US, fulfill my dream, and leave my secure job, leave my apartment, leave my friends and family, everything behind. And that was a big transition for me that I think just caused so much anxiety. I tried to play it cool, but eventually it just caught up to me and I had a racing heart. I couldn't breathe. I was sweating. I hyperventilated. Basically all the symptoms that would pop up on Google if you Google what's the symptoms of panic attacks. I went to every doctor possible, which just spiked my anxiety even more because I thought something was seriously wrong with me. And one doctor eventually asked me if I had a lot of stress in my life. That's when they diagnosed me with panic attacks. When I made the move to the US, I thought that was it. The cause of the anxiety is gone. I will never have to deal with any kind of panic attacks ever again. How really wrong I was. Certain situations just started triggering it, and I used to dance so much, and all of a sudden I was afraid of taking dance classes because I was afraid that I would have a panic attack. And the problem with panic attacks is that you try to avoid the places that could trigger panic attacks or that you've had panic attacks before. So I ended up not going to classes anymore. I ended up not hanging out with friends. I ended up not going to certain places because I was just so afraid. Everything caused some type of anxiety, and that's when I decided and thought to myself, I can't do this by myself anymore and to get help. And the imperfect action I was taking is gradual exposure, and at some point I opened up to friends, and I remember I felt so vulnerable, and there was a time that I couldn't even speak about having panic attacks because I felt so embarrassed about it. And it's so silly because so many people experience anxiety, and I said, I don't know how to verbally communicate my anxiety. I think I want to make a dance piece about it. I did this video just for myself, knowing that that was the part of me that finally accepted that I had anxiety and it was nothing to be embarrassed about, and that it takes a lot of courage and strength to talk or even show these things. I don't know why, but I decided to post it online, and the response I got was nothing I expected. So many people reached out to me, whether I knew them or I didn't. They messaged me, thank you so much for making this video. I can relate to it so much. And that just made me feel less alone. Opening up and being vulnerable sometimes, it just shows you that people in your closest circle that you've thought are so strong and have everything together, that they struggle with the same thing. And long story short, taking imperfect action, gradual exposure towards your fears and anxieties is a step forward. And if you're in a position where you have the resources and the option to reach out for help, please do so. And if you have somebody in your life that's currently going through the same thing, and maybe you've experienced it and have taken steps, please be patient with them. I think a common thing that we do once we've overcome certain things is like overwhelming the other person with all the good things that have helped us. But if they're not in a position where they want to change themselves, the best advice is not going to be good enough and they won't take it. So just be there for them, give them a kind listening ear, and whenever they're ready, they will reach out to you because they know you've been through the same thing. The thing that always shifts my mental health so much is getting out in nature. There is something called negative ions, and they're actually positive. And you can find them in nature. And most of the most negative ions have bodies of water. So if you're living close to a lake, a waterfall, the ocean, that is the perfect way to get your mind and body, your nervous system back to a more calm state. You know the feeling when you go to see the ocean and immediately you feel like this kind of serenity and peace? That is exactly what I mean. If it's currently warm outside or you are a brave soul, try barefoot grounding. It has so many benefits. Even just a couple of minutes a day, if you can ground yourself barefoot on the grass, on the floor, taking deep breaths can really reduce the stress and brings your mind to more ease. If you live somewhere where it's cold and you don't want to do that outside, there is specific grounding mats that you can purchase. I will link one of my favorites below. Another part of that is that we're sometimes so busy to fight all our feelings. We fight our fear, we fight our worry, we feel guilty for worrying and being anxious all the time, instead of just admitting to it. So admitting that you're nervous, admitting that you are anxious about something is nothing bad and is nothing to be ashamed of. When we fight our feelings, that doesn't make them go away faster, right? The only way is through. I always appreciate and I'm so grateful for my friends whenever they reach out and maybe just write something like, hey, have you drank enough water today? Have you had a meal today? I'm going to be that friend for you. Have you hydrated today? Have you had a wholesome, nutritious meal today? If not, go make something go drink some water, and you'll feel better immediately. How often have you heard the sentence, get out of your head? And it's so essential because overthinking brings us nowhere. So either talk to a trusted friend, get out of your house, do something completely unrelated, and if you don't have anybody close by, what really helps is writing your thoughts down. Just brain dump everything, what comes to your mind. It doesn't need to be grammatically correct, it doesn't have to make sense, but we collect so many BS thoughts in our mind sometimes that it can get really cluttered, and just seeing it on a piece of paper can give you a lot of clarity. The last piece of advice I have for you might not be for everyone, but if you're in these kind of things, maybe just take a crystal or a talisman or something that reminds you of how strong you are, how capable you are, and whenever you feel nervous or anxious, just having that in your pocket and actually having something to grip on and remind yourself of that. A thing that reminds you of your strength and your capability and that you're able to get through this. If you're looking for more tools to help you take action, you should watch this video next, where I talk about a strategy called gradual exposure that will bring you a little bit closer to your goals and dreams. Thank you so much for watching. Go and be your favorite self. I'll see you next time.